Hi, and welcome back to this bite size What Happens Next episode, where I explore the benefits of being more childlike when we're thinking about what happens next in our lives. Part of the issue we've got when we're thinking about what happens next in our lives is having the self awareness, having the introspection to be able to think about what the gaps in our well-being are. And we're doing loads of work at the minute with what happens next to build solutions that are going to help you think about well-being in a nuanced way when you're thinking about how it applies to your life. One of the first things we've built that you can use today is our What Happens Next quiz. It's free to do, takes about 5 minutes, but what it will do is give you an insight into the areas of strengths when it comes to your well-being and the areas you might want to improve. You can take the What Happens Next quiz at whathappensnext.life/quiz, and I hope it helps you in your journey to work out what happens next for you.
Hi there, I'm Chris Dames and this is the What Happens Next channel. The channel designed to explore concepts to help you navigate positive change in your life if you're in your 50s and 60s and thinking about the next chapter of your life. And this channel came from a conversation I had with a client who was really considering what the next step was for him after a long, successful career in a corporate organisation. That change from spending a really long period of time with your ladder up one particular wall, climbing that ladder and getting to the top and finding out that actually you've got another ladder that you need to climb and you don't know whether you're on the right building or not, is one challenge that a lot of the clients that we work with face. Who am I? My name's Chris Dames. I help people in their 50s and 60s as a chartered financial planner work out how much is enough financially. But often the conversations zoom out. The conversations start with the money and start with us doing the strategic and technical work required to tell somebody either they've got enough money never to worry again, or there's more work to do, to more nuanced conversations, particularly when we know the money's not going to run out, about life. And it's interesting, my experience tells me that often we are, as adults, are not particularly well equipped to have some of those conversations about making change. You know, change is hard. And actually, the more that I look at this subject, the more I think we could use the skills we naturally had as kids to make better transitions. I mean, I look at my two girls when they were young. I mean, they're 20 and 12 now, but I look at my two girls when they were young and probably similar to your kids or grandkids. And they had two attributes in abundance.
So at the minute, I'm spending a lot of time writing the What Happens Next book. I'm 50,000 words in as I speak to you today and currently working to make sure that the book adds as much value as we can to people thinking about that next stage in their lives. Now, the book's not ready yet. It won't be out until sometime in 2025. I'm working hard to get it finished. But what you can do is sign up for the book waiting list. So you're one of the first people that gets access. You can simply do that by visiting whathappensnext.life/book. Join the waiting list today and you'll be one of the first person to get access to the book and some extra goodies when it comes out.
Firstly, they had curiosity. They wanted to know more about the world. I remember my youngest, Sophie, asking me why once 27 times. And I was like, this is really annoying and frustrating, but also I admired her curiosity. And we lose that when we get older. We lose that in adulthood. We get afraid to ask questions. But actually, when we're thinking about the change that we want to make in our own lives when we're thinking about what happens next, refocusing that element of curiosity, I think is really important. And the other factor is imagination. Kids believe anything is possible. Kids believe the world is a wondrous and fascinating place. And as adults, often life can grind us down. However, revisiting that imagination and looking at the world through the lens of a child, thinking about the possibilities, for me, is an exciting thing to do. And interestingly, this element of change, this consideration of thinking about what happens next, allows you, in my belief, to re-engage with that imagination. You're starting afresh, you're starting anew, and you're allowing yourself to think about if anything could happen in this chapter of your life, what would you want that to be? Now, what I'm talking about here is childlike, not childish. And what the advantage we've got is the fact that we can maintain these childlike skills of curiosity and imagination, but also combine them with maturity and knowledge and wisdom. And the power of those two things combined, I think, allows you to ask yourself the right questions and really consider what happens next in your life. Now, I think there's a number of practical questions we can ask ourselves when we're thinking about what happens next, when we think about imagination and curiosity. I've got one client who says, I'll decide what I'm going to be when I grow up. He's 68. I love that question. What do I really want to be? What did you want to be when you were a kid? You know, what did you want to grow up as when you were 5, 6, 10? And it might give you an insight in terms of how you might want to spend your time in the next chapter of your life. I also love the question, if anything was possible and money was no object, what would you do with your time? Because that will give you a really curious and interesting insight and perhaps open up an avenue that you've not explored before. But then you've got to get practical. So the question to ask yourself is, if anything was possible, what would be the first logical and natural small incremental steps towards achieving that? Now, I'd love to know your thoughts, so feel free to leave that in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe so we can keep on producing thought-provoking content that helps you work out what happens next. And we'll see you next time on the What Happens Next channel.
If you've enjoyed this and you're looking for more from What Happens Next, there's one place you can find everything. Simply visit whathappensnext.life for all of the interviews we've done so far, the opportunity to take the quiz, the opportunity to sign up for the waiting list for the book, and much, much more. So I'd love to know in the comments how you're going to think more like a child and the benefits it brings you when you're navigating change in that next step of your life. Have a lovely week, and we'll see you next week on What Happens Next.